Activists are hailing President Biden's decision to pardon those accused of federal marijuana possession. Coming up, what does that mean for thousands who are looking for a fresh start?
Stockton police are asking for your help in tracking down a serial killer. Is a popular new Netflix series making their job harder?
A local theater group is using a classic play to honor Day of the Dead. It's a musical with a message.
And Spartan football scores a big win. We'll show you the highlights. All this and more, just ahead.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at San Jose State University, your source for what's happening with a fresh perspective on today's issues. You're watching Update News.
Welcome to Update News. I'm Heather Allen.
And I'm Jesus Telitude. We begin with a potentially dangerous hoax about a school shooting. Investigators are scrambling to find out who's responsible. San Jose police say they got a call about a mass shooting at Lincoln High School just before 11 Wednesday morning. Worried parents rushed to the school as students were on lockdown inside. Officers searched the campus for a possible shooter. Turns out it was all a hoax, and the police say the same thing happened at 4 other Bay Area schools in Oakland, South San Francisco, San Mateo County, and Fremont. The fake calls are also known as swatting. The caller phones in a false report of a violent incident, tricking people into sending a SWAT team to a location. Fortunately, no one was injured.
President Joe Biden is pardoning people with federal convictions of simple marijuana possession. Cannabis activists say the executive order is a crucial first step on the path towards decriminalizing marijuana at the federal level. But they believe more must be done. What are the next steps? Reporter Carson Wells has that story.
President Biden announced the federal level pardons and urged states to follow suit.
First, I'm announcing a pardon for all prior federal offenses for the simple possession of marijuana. There are thousands of people who are convicted for marijuana possession who may be denied employment, housing, or educational opportunities as a result of that conviction. My pardon will remove this burden on them. Second, I'm calling on all governors to do the same for state marijuana possession offenses. Third, the federal government currently classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, the same as heroin and LSD, and more serious than fentanyl. It makes no sense. So I'm asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to initiate a process to review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law.
The president says the pardon will help thousands of people whose convictions for using pot or possessing it had denied them jobs, housing, or schooling. But some activists say the president's move is a good first step, but there's a narrow group of people who will benefit from it. Bethany Moore is with the National Cannabis Industry Association.
Now that's on the federal level, which is maybe only a few hundred people, to be quite honest. So part of his announcement was to direct governors in the states to also do that at the state level, which could impact thousands of people.
Action at the state level is crucial. Even in states like California, where marijuana has been legalized, activists say there are still people in jail for marijuana-related crimes.
I would hope that would signal Governor Newsom to free cannabis prisoners. Luke Scarmazzo, he's someone who's in prison for running a medical cannabis dispensary, and he's been in prison for a long time.
Pardoning marijuana offenders is definitely something that has needed to happen for a long time. People should not be behind bars for a plant.
The work is not done. We have quite a ways to go. And really like getting active at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level is all critically important, especially in areas that are not so favorable to cannabis. Black and brown people are still in jail for weed and still continue to be locked up every day for cannabis.
Reporting for Update News, Carson Wells, San Jose.
The reward is up to $125,000 for information leading to the arrest of the suspected Stockton serial killer. Police say the attacker is tied to at least 6 murders, including one in the Bay Area. A 7th victim escaped. Investigators say this is a video of a person of interest in the case. He has an unusual gait or walk. The manhunt comes as Netflix just released a controversial new docudrama on notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Tension is already high, and some fear the popular film could prompt copycats. Reporter Roger Smith has the story.
The new Netflix crime story, Dahmer Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, is one of the most watched on the streaming service. It tells the story of a serial killer and a cannibal who terrorized Milwaukee for 13 years until he was caught in 1991. Netflix is following up with a limited series of conversations with the killer despite the backlash from families of the victims. There isn't only criticism, some viewers accuse the network of making some cash on a gruesome film they knew would draw an audience.
They probably have caught on with this whole YouTube, let me do my makeup and murder mystery storytelling. So I think they're trying to catch on what's trending.
The Dahmer series comes just as Stockton police are hunting a suspected serial killer. He's believed to have killed 6 people already. Samantha Peake, a forensic science professor, says that series like these can inspire copycats.
It definitely lends itself to potentially creating a circumstance where we get serial killers, right? So I think it just kind of, I would say it gives more like light to that area and that aspect of like, oh, I can do it. If he did it, I can do it.
This series not only tells the Jeffrey Dahmer story, but for some people in the gay community, they say that it heightens awareness to keep a lookout for dangerous predators. Matthew Hernandez says he is now more on the high alert about his surroundings when he goes out.
Definitely gives me more of, I don't want to say representation in the wrong way. It's bringing attention to the people that he hurt. And I think that's their story needs to be told because they were targeted members of the community.
The Dahmer series and the serial killer on the loose, some may say it's a perfect wake-up call. Don't get too relaxed. Beware of your surroundings and know who you are with. In San Jose, I'm Rodri Smith, Update News.
There's been a lot of buzz about the Dahmer Netflix series, so we asked students their opinions on whether this kind of film inspires other serial killers. That's what this week's State of the Spartans.
I don't know if they inspired serial killers. There's a lot that we don't know about serial killers. From what I understand, serial killers are classified with social disorders, and there's a lot of debate in the psychological communities about whether or not these social disorders exist, like if psychopaths actually exist. There's a lot of debate as to how to classify them.
I have my doubts on whether a serial killer is developed or born. So someone could just be born with a sick mentality and then they, commit crimes, they do something wrong. Or I guess the other idea is that like people then develop because of these videos or because of their trauma in life, develop to become serial killers. So I don't know if these Netflix documentaries are, but I would say that in a way they glorify the killer or the person who's committing these crimes. I think there's a lot of like fantasies going around and a lot of like people kind of glorifying like, or making up these stories about the killers or kind of putting a fantastical or like Hollywood spin on them. I just don't think that's right. I don't know if it inspires more killers though, but.
I feel like to a certain extent it can inspire them because it gives them some sort of fame. And a lot of people are talking about that, and maybe some people might be finding or might be needing that attention, and they might be seeking it from doing criminal activity.
Yes, I do believe that these documentaries are affecting people's mental health. I think that having these documentaries showing that they got away with killing people and when they found out way later shows that, hey, it is possible, and if you do it correctly or what they presume is correctly, then get away with it too, and maybe, hey, who knows, maybe they won't get caught.
Joining us now is Professor Samantha Peake. She teaches forensic science at San Jose State. Thank you for helping us understand more about this topic.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I hope I can shed some light as to the forensic science application of this.
Our non-scientific polling seems to indicate many people think films like the Dahmer one from Netflix might inspire copycats. Is there any scientific evidence to support that?
There's not necessarily direct scientific evidence. What typically happens, and just to be clear, I'm not a psychologist or forensic psychologist in this regard, but with regards to serial killers, there's usually like clusters that happen after serial killers typically happen or get caught, or any kind of killings. We get what are known as copycats, and they come in clusters. It's typically, within a month to two that they happen, but they're not something that happens, after 13 years. So the fact that we have these forensic files, Netflix series, how to make a murderer kind of thing, definitely could pique the interest of potentially getting some copycat murderers.
Would a film like the Dahmer one energize serial killers or encourage them to lay low?
Serial killers are a unique, I'll call them breed, in the sense that they don't typically follow the population. They have their own kind of regiment, their own kind of style and behaviors. So the film probably isn't something they may even be aware of. They may just kind of scoff at it. Serial killers typically have egos. They typically are sociopaths or psychopaths. They don't really have any empathy or sympathy. So when it comes to these Dahmer and these, Bundy films and whatnot, they probably aren't even fazed by it necessarily. They probably just laugh and say, well, I can probably do it better. It just depends.
Dahmer got away with his crimes for 13 years. What are some of the steps investigators take to track down a suspect?
Well, I've been reading up on the case, and it seems that the investigators had potential paths through witnesses, but the key witness was a victim that got away. And fortunately, he was able to come to the police and articulate as to what happened. But forensic science was also a key thing when it came to the cannibalism, keeping what we call awards, where they would take trophies. So Dahmer took trophies, and they were able to do DNA analysis and run some other forensic analysis to be able to connect the crimes.
Stockton police are asking our viewers to note that the person of interest in the video they released has an unusual walk. How important is it that for the police to get the public involved?
It's vital to any investigation to have the public keep their ears and eyes open and to witness or see any potential suspects that they identify. In this case, with an unusual walk, that's very specific to the individuals. We teach our students about, the impressions that can be made on the shoe that could lend itself to forensic evidence. And, in terms of the public being involved, they're going to be able to see and identify and say something before the police can necessarily get to it. And Stockton police, unfortunately, they're, probably overwhelmed with a lot of other things that are happening in the town. So public involvement is a very crucial item and, very important to the community.
Thank you for your insight, Professor.
When we come back,
a local theater group marks the end of Hispanic Heritage Month with a classic play, and there's a part you can play. We'll tell you how coming up.
we'll take a look at how being a plant parent can improve your mental and physical well-being.
Want to know what to expect for this week's weather? Stay tuned and find out.
As Hispanic Heritage Month comes to an end, a local theater group is gearing up to pay homage to the traditional Day of the Dead. But they are doing so with a twist. They're using a classic Mexican play to point out a growing problem, hunger in the Bay Area, and how you can help. Sandy Santos has more on this musical with a mission.
The 1960s play Macario is the first foreign language film nominated for an Oscar, where its main character battles hunger. The contemporary play adaptation will bring us a bigger message, and I was there to learn all about it. San Jose's Teatro Visión performed Macario for several years until the pandemic struck. Now it's back. It's the classic story of a poor woodcutter who dreams of a day without hunger. His wife makes that dream come true. Then he gets healing powers to change his family and his community forever.
The film is a beautiful piece, but to see it live in the theater is even more beautiful. It's a story people can't miss to see. It talks about women empowerment, about family, and the cultural enrichment of Mexico. The story sprouts from a day of the dead season.
Macario is more than a play. It also represents a social injustice where many people don't have enough resources for food.
We use that story too to talk about a social justice issue, which is access to food. And it's not only about being able to get something to eat, but it is also what access our communities have to healthy food.
The Census Bureau data reveals that the Bay Area has a higher rate of food insufficiency. This means that the Bay Area residents are 40 times more likely to suffer from a lack of food resources than other residents statewide. This food bank in downtown San Jose is trying to help by offering essential goods to families in the community.
We serve anywhere between 40 to 70 people. We also provide essentials. We give eggs, we give milk, we give fruit. We also provide lunches for homeless people.
There are other centers like this that sprouted during the pandemic and continue to grow as more and more people are in urgent need of food. Teatro Visión's hope is that Macario brings families together and helps them see the real needs in the community, and that it might inspire you to donate to your local food bank, maybe even volunteer. The play Macario opens October 13 at the Mexican Heritage Plaza and runs through the 23rd. In San Jose, this is Sandy Santos for Update News.
A new survey from UC Berkeley shows that 68% of Bay Area voters polled say they are in favor of a state ban on new gas-powered vehicles by 2035. And 69% said their next vehicles would be either a plug-in hybrid or an all-electric vehicle. But there are a lot of questions about whether the state will be ready and will we have the infrastructure we need. Reporter Shruti Lakshmana looked for those answers.
Some Californians believe that the governor's decision is a step in the right direction and is tackling issues that contribute to global warming.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's really a good for overall, given the climate change concerns that we have in front of us, and really just the technology is evolving so fast that when we think about 8 years down the road, just the positive impact on emissions and just the overall climate change concerns, I think it'll be positive.
Others are concerned this transition may not be environmentally sustainable, especially given the price of electric vehicles.
I do find that reducing the amount of gas cars will reduce like emission and all that, but electricity is not like, they're both harmful in equal ways, so that's why I'm kind of mixed with it. I just think it's just very inexpensive to get a gas car than an electric car.
Meanwhile, some experts believe that the governor's timeline will need to be adjusted.
I have a feeling that deadline is going to be moved up a little bit more, because I'm not so sure if the public or the government or the industry is going to be ready to come up with those products by then.
Issues including California's power grid capacity and the efficiency of the current electric batteries are also possible hindrances to achieving the 2035 goal.
Major cost of an EV is the electric batteries. We are hoping that maybe through innovation there would be new generation of batteries, that they would be higher density, more potent in terms of giving range to the vehicle, lighter weight and lower cost. That is where you can probably go a little bit further.
If the state is to meet that goal, you could soon see a lot more charging stations and electric vehicles on California highways. This is Shruti Lakshmanan, update.
They're beautiful, they freshen your air, and they're good for your health. Houseplants became hugely popular while people were stuck at home early in the pandemic. Now it seems being a plant parent is a personality trait. Studies show that bringing nature inside can lower stress and make you more productive. I spoke to some self-described plant ladies to find out how keeping an indoor garden can be an important part of self-care. Charlene Alcanesis started Monstera Lounge in downtown Campbell because her life changed during the pandemic. She says caring for plants helped her manage her mental health. She uses that experience to spread the healing joy of plants to others.
Of energy, and plants are a form of energy, and it's just a transference of love and service towards one another. I say plants are magic because during the time that I needed to heal myself, I was introducing plants into my life, and they actually really helped with my mental state.
A 2015 scientific study found that just having plants a few feet from you can help lower blood pressure, boost creativity, and freshen the air. But it's the act of nurturing plants that some people say helps them manage their symptoms of depression or ADHD.
In caring for the plants, I really do have to, I have to set a schedule. I have to remember to water them. I have to not overwater them. They need me. And it has really helped my mental health just to have on days where I'm like, okay, well, I have to get out of bed today because the plants have to be watered.
So, succulents, philodendron, or snake plant. Experts say all of these are great for beginners, but pet owners might want to avoid varieties like the popular Monstera because it can be toxic to animals. Beginners can ask associates about the light requirements and feeding instructions or download an app for their phone to set reminders of common plant care needs. But the biggest issue among new plant parents is overwatering.
Hard to tell you exactly what day of the week you should water your plants. You should just kind of check the soil. You kind of have to actually go in there yourself. Strangely enough, the more you forget about your plants or ignore your plants, they tend to do a lot better. In most cases, that's just what I've seen, so.
Still lost on plant care? Check out one of the many workshops Monstera hosts.
Looks like cooler temperatures are headed our way. And could we see some drizzle? Brandy Cash has our forecast.
Hi, I'm Brandy Cash with this week's weather. Mild temperatures and breezy conditions at times are expected to continue into the weekend as best shower chances for now stay south near Southern California, while high pressure blocks storms from reaching the Bay Area. Areas of coastal low clouds and breezy conditions at times for the North Bay Mountains should be ongoing with high pressure just to the north. We should see temperatures cooling into the weekend with increasing high clouds. Temperatures are expected to remain cool to mild near the coast with areas of low clouds and patchy fog. And taking a look at our 7-day forecast, Santa Cruz looks pretty nice with 70s across the board. Oakland keeping the same trend with high temperatures Saturday and Sunday at 75 and 74, cooling into next week. And San Francisco, we have slightly cooler weather, but looks pretty nice Saturday and Sunday. Saturday 71, Sunday 70, and high 60s into next week. And San Jose, a little bit warmer than the rest of the Bay Area, 81 Friday as well as Saturday, Sunday 80, and then into next week we should see more fall-like temperatures with Monday and Tuesday into the mid to high 70s. I'm Brandy Cash, and that was the weather. Back to the studio.
And when we come back,
Spartan football is on a winning streak after crushing UNLV 40-7. Just ahead, we'll have highlights and hear from head coach Brett Brennan and the players.
At San Jose State, we really do learn by doing. This is my first semester working on our award-winning newspaper, the Spartan Daily. But my whole time here really has been about real-world skill building. Professors like Diane Gurazi continue their work in journalism while bringing that knowledge back to us in the classroom each semester. Then we're on the Spartan Daily, Update News, or the Spear. We get to put all that into practice. We even get to work with cutting-edge tools like our new VR lab, where we get to learn new ways of real storytelling using 3D virtual reality.
Our students have many opportunities to work in newsrooms that function like the ones they will encounter in their professional careers. Here in Update News, for instance, we produce a weekly show that is aired on local access television in San Jose, and we produce video news that is digital first. Students will get experience as producers, anchors, and field reporters.
The Spartan Daily, our award-winning student newspaper, has not missed a scheduled publication date in more than 80 years and remains one of the longest-standing papers of its kind in the Western United States. Through classroom instruction and our newsroom labs, we give our students the tools to succeed and create their own bright futures. Learn by doing. If you're interested in joining our program, visit our website for more information.
The San Jose State football team is off to its best start since winning the Mountain West Championship in 2020. SJSU ran rampant Friday night as it defeated UNLV 40-7 to claim its third consecutive win and first place in the conference. It was an electric environment at CEFCU Stadium, and I was at the game to catch all the action. More than 16,000 fans were at CEFCU Stadium Friday night as the San Jose football team put on a clinic against UNLV. The Spartans trounced the Rebels 40-7 to take first place in the Mountain West Conference. It's the best start to a season for SJSU since winning the Mountain West Championship in 2020.
It was an awesome night in CEFCU Stadium. It's really cool to see our students. They stayed all the way through the game. That end zone was just full. It was really, really cool.
Quarterback Chevin Cordero led the charge for the Spartans. The SJSU junior finished with 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, and more than 300 yards in total offense.
I mean, I feel like I'm a playmaker. If everything's open in the pass, I'm going to throw it. And if the defense got everything covered, I'm going to run it. I feel like I can extend plays, and I feel like that's my ability.
On top of Cordero picking apart UNLV, the SJSU defense showed out all night. It held the visitors scoreless at halftime and only allowed 52 rushing yards.
I don't know that I thought we would, be able to shut them down on that level, but I have confidence in our defense. We have a good defensive football team. They're extremely well coached. Every one of those coaches does an outstanding job with his respective group, and it was a lot of fun to see them play. They play with great effort and intensity. A lot of guys play, so they're able to stay fresh.
SJSU will now look to make it 4 straight wins as the team travels to Fresno to take on the Bulldogs.
There's lots to do this week. Carson Wells has our coming up calendar.
Here are some things to look forward to this upcoming week.
Body Politics is in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Library until October 20th. Learn about the movements and other efforts that led to the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision. Support the SJSU Concert Choir at their debut concert, I Can Tell the World. The event starts at 7:30 p.m. at the Campbell United Methodist Church. Go to the 50th annual Half Moon Bay Pumpkin Festival. See crazy big pumpkins, eat delicious food, and so much more. Festivities go from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. Here's what's coming up in athletics. On October 13th, women's volleyball plays at 6 p.m. Also on the 13th, women's soccer plays at 7 p.m. On the 15th, women's volleyball plays at 1 p.m. And finally on the 16th, women's soccer plays at 12 p.m.
That's all for this week.
And that does it for this week's edition of Update News.
For all of us here, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.